Hello, welcome back to Rapid Regeneration. I'm David Escamilla. I'm not a doctor, not making medical claims or claims about diseases. I am a regenerative detoxification specialist, and I'm sharing information that is amazing and that reveals the power of nature to fix itself, to solve problems, and that basically the state of normal should be optimum, high performance, high energy. You should feel good, just like other animals do in nature that are eating natural things and that are living a natural life. So basically, that's the power of the information that I'm sharing and what we've looked at so far, some of the amazing supplements, the amazing cleanses, and then if you're up for it, looking at the world of foods and changing the inputs that you're putting into your bodies. And so this is a tough one, and I want to start off in the easiest way possible, because when you're talking about changing a diet, everyone hates it. I mean, food is very personal. I know you probably love food. You love eating it. It's comforting. It's emotionally assuring, and all that type of thing. So don't be intimidated. Don't be scared. Don't feel like you have to give all this stuff up. And basically, we're gonna start with the easiest possible way to avoid harming yourself with food. So that's why we looked at the supplements first, the cleansing first. You should be feeling some momentum from that and a difference in your appetite, especially if you've done the colon cleansing, the liver cleansing, and the parasite cleansing of what you wish to eat. So you should be feeling like a desire to eat cleaner, more healthy foods. And so basically this segment is going to explain the top things you should avoid eating at all costs. So this goes to a conversation that I had with a friend of mine, smart guy, and but rather skeptical about the raw foods and the power of that. And he just said, well, what if eating a lot of these raw foods, you're feeling good and everything, and you're getting results because of all the bad stuff that you're not eating, and you're simply just not eating the bad stuff, and that's why you're experiencing that. And I think that's a valid point, and I think it's true that yes, there's amazing benefits of raw foods and fruits, and they are superfoods and the amazing things you get from them. But part of it is simply to just put yourself into a vacuum where you're not avoiding these other foods that are quite literally poisonous. And so that's a good point, and that's what this segment's all about. And basically, I understand you're not going to be 100% raw or eating fruit all day and stuff like that. At least probably 99% of people that listen to this. So the point is, yes, you should eat more fruit, you should eat more raw foods and everything, and you should ramp that up. And the more desperate you are to change your physical condition, then the more you should ramp that up. But if you're going to be eating other foods, then let's address that, what that's going to look like, and what to avoid when you're eating foods out of the other categories. In other words, cooked foods. So basically, I'm going to go through the top foods to avoid, and starting with the worst ones. And this isn't all bad foods you should avoid. This is just the worst ones, and they're everywhere. So you'll be amazed at the results. I was amazed when I started to do this, when I simply cut out the worst stuff, and I was still eating a lot of stuff that's not great, still some grains, some meat, different things, a lot of these cooked foods and deep fat fried foods. I mean, I was still eating a lot of stuff. But just by cutting out some of these chemicals and some of these different food types, I mean, the difference is amazing because, you know, your body will tolerate so much. You can poison it, and it's so robust. It will survive amongst the poisons. So literally, you're just telling someone, hey, stop bashing your head against the wall over and over again. And that person's like, oh, hey, I'm really feeling better. I'm feeling pretty good. And you're like, yeah, you're not bashing your head against a brick wall repeatedly all day long. So yeah, I mean, the results are amazing. If you could just go through this segment and just literally avoid these foods as much as possible. You don't have to be an absolutist. You don't have to be a monk sitting cross-legged in a temple, eating one bowl of soup every day. You don't have to go cold turkey. You can, just do your best. Do your best is all I ask. And again, it is my mission to help you. That's my mission that I'm on. So ever since getting myself healthy and well, going through what I went through, all the horrible things that I had to endure health-wise, and then solving all those problems, this information is so amazing that I'm on a mission to help you to do the same. And I want the karma from that. So let me help you, please. If you want more detailed information, technical, refer to the book. I'm going to just kind of go over this at a high level, each food, each thing on this list. But check out the book, Rapid Regeneration, in audio form or the regular book or ebook. If you really want more detail, it's more like provides that more detail. So, okay, category number 1. So this is like a list of known terrorists. Do not negotiate with them. These are the worst foods, worst possible things you could put in your body, food-wise. It's a minefield out there. And I'm going to help you navigate the minefield. So first of all, harmful chemicals. Okay, let's look at the harmful chemicals and what to avoid. First of all, the water. You should avoid the water, coming from your city government or your local private water company. Basically, a lot of municipalities get their drinking water from the plumbing system, and so it's recycled. And so basically you have all these wastes from toilets and plumbing systems, from people's human waste and pharmaceutical drugs, herbicides, pesticides, parasites. This is crazy that you would, Now here's the other problem: is that they will disinfect that and heavily treat the water with heavy chemicals to treat a lot of the germs and bacteria and stuff. So chloride is a huge one that gets put in the water. Disinfecting chemicals that are very, very rough on the body. How about things that are added to the water, chemicals like fluoric acid? This is basically a type of fluoride that is actually, it's an industrial waste from smelting aluminum, where you get this fluoric acid that's created. It's then sold to city governments, and they put it in the water. This is a heavy chemical. Very acidic, and something that I can't imagine that you would want in your body. So definitely, the first thing to avoid is chemicals in the water. You should avoid that and get spring water. Buy it, or at a reasonable cost. And basically, you can also get distilled water. I just switched to that recently. I really like it. And you could either buy it, or you can get your own distilled water filter or your own gravity filter that's going to filter all this junk out. So you can see some recommendations that I have made for that at rapidregeneration.com/water-filter or rapidregeneration.com/water for recommendations about that. So if you are planning to drink bottled water, then just make sure, by the way, to avoid a chemical called BPA that's used in plastics. This is the issue with a lot of reusable plastics, is that it contains bisphenol A. This is a hormone disrupting chemical that's put in plastics. Doesn't have to be. So look for a water bottle that says BPA free. Okay, BPA free. All right. So also keep in mind, beverages use a lot of chemicals. You know, most of these beverages, they use tap water, so they're going to have the same chemicals in the tap water, and then a lot of chemicals get added. And so a lot of these beverages are very acid forming, you know, and these include things like sodas, sports drinks, alcoholic beverages. You know, most of these things are very full of chemicals. So, you know, read the labels, find out what's in these things. You know, there's some exceptions, you know, herbal teas and, you know, different beverages, juices that aren't as bad, but just be aware. Okay. Also, you have chemicals that are added to foods and food products. Okay, you have things like dyes, preservatives, emulsifiers, thickening agents, artificial flavorings. I mean, you have so many things. You know, if you go to a grocery store and you look at a box of food and you look at the ingredients and you see all these crazy ingredients that you can't pronounce, yeah, this should be a major red flag. So here in America, basically we have these regulatory bodies that they allow these companies to put things into food. These chemicals preserve the foods, they make them taste better artificially, and they make food products, in some cases, more addictive, so that you go back and you buy them again and again and again, and you can't stop. On record, the industry has figured out how to do this. Now, just understand, don't be mad, okay, at the industry. Don't be mad at the government agency for not protecting you. You know, it's your responsibility to protect you and your family against what's out there in the marketplace. So you have to figure this out for yourself. That's where I'm going to help you. That's where you can help yourself. And don't just go forward blindly without knowing what you're eating. Don't be a herd animal where the farmer puts the feed into the food trough and you just run up there and just start eating whatever comes out. That's what people are like. If you ever work at an office and they say, hey, it's so-and-so's birthday and we're bringing out food, and oh yes, I'll take a plate. You know, people don't even know what it is. Or they say, oh yes, we're going to send you to this training. Oh, and we're going to give you lunch. Oh, well, what is it? Well, we don't know, but you're going to be fed. Don't worry. You know, don't be a herd animal, because chances are it's not healthy. You know, what the food is, and you have to hold these companies accountable. It's up to you, you know, to buy different products or shop elsewhere. You know, you need to be informed and aware of what's going on around you. So a great example of this is MSG, which is monosodium glutamate. Okay, there's many other names for this as well. I think to kind of divert from, because people know about MSG nowadays. But basically this was originally developed by the US government. It was put in the military's food to make bland, tasteless food taste great. I mean, you know, this is unbelievable. And you can see why fast food restaurants love this chemical, because, you know, they can use cheap, low quality ingredients, you know, and just add this to it. Now, it's also addictive, this chemical. So it makes people go back for more and more and more, which is why when someone has a craving to go to the drive-thru, They're not just craving chicken. They're not just craving, deep fried potatoes. They're not just craving a hamburger. They want that fix that fast food thing gives them. So we're going to talk more about that, how to break out of that. So this is just one example of many, many, many artificial ingredients and chemicals that get added to foods. A lot of times these are neurotoxic, which means they harm the brain and nervous system, or they're hormone disrupting, meaning they disrupt your hormones, your entire energy flow in the body. So this should be a complete no-brainer to avoid this category. Now, they are ubiquitous. This stuff is everywhere. So, you have to just be on the lookout. If you're eating at restaurants, just be aware, avoid fast food, avoid like your lowest cost provider type places where you get something cheap, because a lot of times these chemicals are used to save costs. So it's also tougher to read what's in the food in restaurants. So, make sure if you do get it online or in a supermarket, read the labels and just know what's in your food products. So you'll be amazed at just cutting out this one category and how much better you feel with the water and chemicals in the food. You'd be absolutely amazed. There is a growing market for transparent foods that don't have chemicals, that are healthy, quality ingredients. So I'm telling you, this industry gets more and more positive all the time. The free marketplace is coming up with solutions and alternatives. And so, there's a zillion products out there. They're making their way into the stores. They're available online. And this is going to be the solution of the problem, which the problem, as I identify it, is that people right now are they're in manufactured ghettos of poor health, and they're bouncing back and forth between big agra and big pharma over and over and over again. And it really makes me sick, and I'm going to have something to do about solving that problem. And in any case, if you want to see some of these foods that are out there, some of these really neat food products that taste great and are healthy, just check out rapidregeneration.com/food to see some products that I like. So next up, would be sort of more toxic chemicals and materials. Now this is a different category because this is ones that are used to treat food. So this would be on mostly unwashed or non-organic produce. This would be things like your herbicides, pesticides, fungi, and harmful organisms. So you want to avoid, even though it's not really a food, but it's on the food, you want to avoid it. And by the way, I understand it's not always practical to buy organic. I totally get it. It's costly and everything else. So just be discerning and have common sense. So if there's a fruit with a skin on it and you're not going to eat the skin, like a banana, avocado, orange, a melon, or a pineapple, then don't feel bad about getting the conventional, the non-organic kind. Because sure, the skin may be treated with chemicals, but you can cut out the skin and just eat the meat of the fruit. So if it's something that you're going to eat the skin, like your berries or like your grapes or your cherries, do not get non-organic. Do not get conventional. I'm serious, because these are some of the most sprayed fruits in the business, sprayed down with pesticides to keep the bugs away. Pesticides are so harmful. You have a very common one called glyphosate. There's been so many books written about this. By experts who are professional scientists, and it's so harmful. It's not even funny. and it's everywhere. I mean, it's been linked to so many health problems. So, if you are looking at two boxes of strawberries, and the conventional ones are $3, and the organic ones are $6, and you can't afford the extra $3 to buy organic, then don't buy strawberries at all. It's not worth the health benefits of the strawberry are not worth eating neurotoxins that are sprayed on the outside of it, and those pesticides that are linked to so many health issues. It's just not worth it. So buy oranges instead. Okay, that orange peel could literally save your life compared with eating those strawberries. So, either get the organic ones or don't get them at all. Get something else. Now, also, you should also wash fruits and vegetables before eating them. Let's say even if you buy some organic berries or grapes or cherries, you want to wash off the fungi, all the harmful organisms, the dust, all the weird stuff that's floating around the grocery store and the trucks and the farmers. And so you want to get a good produce wash that's natural and water, and wash those off and dry them off if you're using tap water before eating them. So you can check out for a good product for that, rapidregeneration.com/produce wash. Okay, I've done all this research for you. I'm telling you, I've learned all this stuff the hard way. Okay, next up on the list is going to be fast foods. Now, this one is like, okay, I know it's obvious, and I know I'm being redundant by bringing it up. But yeah, I mean, all these foods, whether it's the ingredients they're using, to the additives they're putting in there, to the way they actually prepare the food, to how about the conditions, the cleanliness conditions of some of these kitchens. The workers at these fast food places are not exactly, the most meticulous people about making sure the food is clean and that the kitchen is clean. And, everyone knows, I mean, these foods destroy health. And so very few people can get away with eating these over a lifetime and getting a get out of jail free card. So don't roll the dice, please. Do not gamble at the roulette wheel of the food world, which is these fast food places. Okay, don't be a statistic. Okay, next up on the list, top foods to avoid are going to be your GMOs, your genetically modified foods. Now, the main GMOs, there's a bunch, but these are kind of the main ones that you see. Corn, soy, canola oil, refined sugar from beetroots, potatoes, zucchini and yellow squash, and alfalfa, which basically is used mostly for animal feed. Now, there's a big difference between eating these foods in their natural form, in which case you would just want to buy organic, or non-GMO, or eating them in their GMO state. So the GMO issue is crazy because basically the food industry invented these foods, and they basically inserted a compound that's sort of like a pesticide inside of that food, altering the DNA of that food, so that bugs would basically get alerted when they see this food that the food is toxic, poisonous, and that they would have to be totally foolish and basically suicidal to eat them. Well, if the bugs don't know not to eat them, if the bugs know they shouldn't, but yet the humans are eating them, and billions of people are eating GMO foods regularly, billions. And so, we've got our work cut out for us if we want to change this planet, and we can't save everybody, but a few of us can make it out of this thing. I mean, honestly, through this minefield into the other side. But you can see what we're up against. I mean, there's so many studies, don't take it from me. There's one study where they fed rats GMO food products, and the rats grew a bunch of tumors, and the other rats didn't grow any tumors that were fed regular food. So, it's just, wow. Now, they did this because they can basically deliver a crop for 70 cents on the dollar by using GMOs, by playing mad scientists, playing God, and manipulating the genes of our planet. And as long as people keep consuming these products, you're going to see a world around us that gets sicker and sicker and sicker. It's really sad. And, the people that invented this stuff, are very rich now. But if you look around, you have so many people suffering from health problems, ill health, and especially in disadvantaged communities. And you should stop supporting this practice today, right now, and make a resolution to not eat GMOs. So next up is in the list, which has been a little bit depressing so far, is going to be your highly processed food products. Okay, these are foods. Now, again, this is your top list of foods to avoid. Now, so far, you should still be able to, eat foods that are pleasurable, and you don't necessarily even need to change the type of foods that you're eating. But you're just, cutting out, the chemicals, and you're going to use a regular food rather than a GMO food and stuff like that. So, also on here is your highly processed food products. Now, basically, these are foods which, by the time they make it into the box or the bag, they're not really foods anymore. They've been so processed that broken down, reheated, preserved, processed, they don't really even resemble food anymore. But they are tasty, they have great textures, and they're very addictive. Thanks to what the food industry has been doing to get you addicted to foods. So I know some of this is redundant because a lot of this stuff is sort of, these are no-nos from some of the other lists, right? Like they have GMOs or they have a bunch of chemicals and preservatives in them. So you can see how these categories kind of overlap. It's like a Venn diagram of chemistry that destroys health. And so food products, these kind of artificial processed foods, you can see, well, they're red flags from other categories as well. But, the more you process a food, it loses any nutritional or energetic benefit that it had. Like, look at wheat flour. When it gets turned into white flour, it loses a lot of the original vitamins and minerals. And then furthermore, it's not even really a natural substance anymore. It gets turned into this like sticky, gluey paper mache material. And that really becomes a terrible plaque inside the intestines and everything. So it's not even a food really by the time you eat it. Yet it's one of the most common things out there. All the chemistry of these processed foods gets really transformed through the cooking and the heating process. Like cooking oil becomes oxidized when you heat it. It really changes the chemical makeup, and then you add in the GMO factor, and then you add in all these things that preserve it, change the flavor, change the texture, all these chemicals, make you crave it more, so you'll buy it again. So, yes, this is definitely at the top of the list, these processed foods. It doesn't mean all processed food products are bad. And, it can be convenient. Maybe you're a parent or you're very busy in terms of your schedule. You can't always have serve a meal that's prepared fresh foods. And so there are a growing market for healthy food products that are prepared or that are processed, but more healthy. Just again, check the ingredient list if you're gonna buy these, and be aware of what's in there. And again, rapidregeneration.com/food, for some of these alternatives. Okay, that's kind of the demarcation point in the list. So those ones, you should just avoid those. If you could avoid all those, that would be amazing. Those are kind of the non-food food categories. Now, in terms of the actual food world, we need to look at some of the top ones to avoid eating. Again, I don't expect you to be 100% perfect. We can't all avoid all these things. Even to this day, I might eat something from one of these categories. And look at me, I'm still alive. So I'm not saying you have to be 100%, but I'm just saying be aware of the top things that are most harmful, that will create the most acidic chemistry, degeneration, harm to cells in the body, and that type of thing. So last couple items on this list here. Dairy. Man. Dairy, it's actually alkaline when it's raw. Now, almost all dairy in America here is pasteurized in restaurants and stores. Very, very acid forming when it's cooked. I'm not an expert on raw dairy. There's some people who are. There's still issues with that. Trust me. The complex sugars, very encouraging to funguses and candida, and acid forming, even though it's alkaline in nature. So, but just being focused on pasteurized dairy, which again is like everything you're going to find out there, man, this is a lot of bad effects can happen from this. Acidic forming, mucus forming, congestive, irritating, constipating, complicated to digest, promotes overgrowth of yeast, candida, harmful organisms and parasites. Man, I mean, what else do you need to know? Now, here's the issue. Here's maybe why you're still eating it. Very addictive. Many cheeses contain something called casein. You probably already know this. This acts like an opioid drug on the brain. Okay, like if you ever see a junkie in an alley that's waiting for kind of his drug fix. Once I was sitting in a coffee shop outside, and I saw this gentleman pull up in his truck and walk into the Pizza Hut next door. And this was a middle-aged, overweight guy, and he had this just blank look in his eyes, like he was in a zombie-like trance, picking it up. But it was the same look that heroin junkie has in the alleyway. Okay, the casein in the cheese literally is so addictive. Casomorphins are created, and they bind to opiate receptors in the brain when it's eaten. So, I mean, it's a made-up food. It's arrogant. It's typical human behavior, to try to break away from nature. I mean, what other animal would suckle on the teat of a different species? It's just bizarre. And it's not just me saying this. I mean, the paleo people get it. The people in the Whole30 dieting thing get this. And they're not that friendly towards raw foods or fruits. That's not really their thing, but they understand the harm of dairy. So avoid it. Your life depends on it. Also, on the list of foods to avoid, as much as possible at least, is your grains, your beans, and your starches. Now, this is tough, and I know I'm going to get some hate for this and some resistance, because, look, this is a tough one to avoid. And again, I don't expect you to do 100%, but just understand this is an acid-forming food. It's very acidic. It causes a blowback in the body. The way it gets digested creates a lot of acids, phytic acids, and everything else. And it also robs you of energy, and your body will expound more energy digesting it than you'll actually get back from it. Mucus forming, irritating to the body. Now these are tough ones to give up. This is stuff like your wheat products, your flour, oats, rice, and how about beans and legumes, including peanuts, peanut butter. And then how about also your starches? That's things that are made from things like potatoes and corn. Now I know what you're thinking. I just listed all the good foods that are fun. Your bread, your pasta, your tortillas, your chips, crackers. And you're not going to want to give these up easily. But just understand, these are foods that will rob you of energy, that will acidify your body, dehydrate you, and clog up the gut, and it's going to compromise your health. I mean, if your goal is to get more healthy, then just understand, look, these foods are going to work against that. They're a buried grenade in this minefield, and you're stepping over it. Just understand what it is you're stepping on. Okay, I'm going to cover that section in more detail in a category called grains, beans, and starches, healthy vegan foods or no. Okay, so that will be covered in more detail about exactly why. I'm going to break down the science behind what these foods do when you eat them. So I don't want to sugarcoat this, and don't be intimidated. I'll talk about transitioning and different foods you can eat and stuff like that. But just understand, this is a major, major health destroying category of foods. Complex sugars as well, promotes candida, promotes overgrowth of harmful organisms and parasites. I mean, yes, I love chips too, and crackers and tortilla and breads and pasta. I love it as much as the next guy. Hummus, and there's alternatives out there too. And you can look at the segment called Foods to Cheat With as well. Or just go to, /food to the website. But I'm just telling you, I know it's hard. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. And so it's important to identify the source of the problems. Okay, last category is going to be your conventionally raised meat products. So this is your animals that are raised with your chemicals, with what they're being fed, and basically non-organically. Okay, this can lead to some of the most toxic, chemically altered, unnatural, and parasite-ridden foods that are out there. There's so many problems with this part of the industry. I don't know where to begin. The way that they're raised, these animals, in the quarters that they have is so bad from a sanitation standpoint. No wonder it attracts so much parasites and harmful organisms that can grow inside of the body, end up inside of the packaged meat, and possibly inside of a new human host after it eats it. Okay, now to combat these dirty conditions, the farmers give these animals antibiotics and other pharmaceutical drugs. Now, this compromises the animal's health, and now you're taking these drugs by proxy by eating that animal. Okay, same thing about what the animals are getting fed. A lot of times they're getting fed GMOs. Okay, so either GMO corn, maybe GMO alfalfa. This is going to really ravage that animal's body and their cells and their DNA. And if you're like, I don't eat GMOs, and you're smart enough to avoid them, but then you eat a meat where the animal ate GMOs, guess what? You're still getting affected by the GMOs, and same thing with any other toxins. If they're being fed junk for food that's full of chemicals and toxins, you're eating that stuff too by successive approximation. There's even farmers that will grind up animals and feed them back to cows. I mean, cows shouldn't eat meat. They're not designed for it, and it's just going to cause so much health issues. So you should avoid this type of meat product, just as you would avoid the drugs themselves, the chemicals, and the GMOs, and and avoid being in those dirty conditions yourself. So that's the deal with that. I mean, you should feel a huge difference just not consuming the junk or switching from conventional meat to like organic grass-fed. I mean, it's a huge difference. You should feel a difference doing that. Now, I'm going to spare the grass-fed kind of organic meats on this list. Now, I'm going to get flack from both sides on this because the vegan people are going to tell me, well, all meat should be on this list and animal products. And then the meat eaters are going to be like, well, you're saying we can't eat conventional meat. But really, trust me, I understand that there's problems with meat, even like organic meat. Okay, it's very acidic forming, uric acid and everything else. It's very intensive digestively, energy consuming for the body. Also, our intestinal tract has issues with moving meat through it. And basically it will rot slowly through the intestinal tract. This is a acidic process. The intestines form mucus as a response. And then you also invite a bunch of parasites in to proliferate if there's meat going through this process, sitting in the intestines for 24 to 36 hours. So yes, I understand meat has its problems, but this segment is not about, hey, these are all the foods that you should ideally never eat in a perfect world. No, that's not what this list is. This list is the top foods to avoid. Period. The end. So that's why that these organic meats are not in this category. Again, that's also why maybe, like your starches and your grains, maybe someone wants to eat potatoes or they want to eat like, whole grain rice, or that's not going to be as bad as like a processed cracker or chip with the white flour and everything. So yes, I understand that. And here's the other thing too, is a lot of people are transitioning. Organic grass-fed meat could be like a stepping stone to rely on as you're transitioning to a healthier diet. I have no issue with that. I did that myself, which is why I guess this strikes a nerve with me, is that, I got to a point where I was doing, a lot of cooked vegetables, a lot of fruits, nuts, and then like organic meat and some organic eggs, trying not to eat the grains, and this is what I was doing when I was really trying to get myself healthy in the beginning. And you know what? I really got a lot of great results from this. Yes, even though the meat is acidic and everything, I understand it has negative effects, but I'm saying it's not one of the worst things that you could eat. And so it's your journey, and you know what? Figure out what you're going to do. Maybe you're going to give up animal products entirely and go plant-based. Maybe not. Okay, that's not up to me. It's your journey. I'm just saying what I see as the worst things, as you're trying to cut out the worst things. And I think you should experience amazing results just by doing that. You really should, especially if you've been eating this stuff. So that's it. That's the list. So next up, we're going to cover basically, last couple segments have been about kind of the nature of food, what it is, and so forth. But I want to spend some time about what it's like to actually transition, and in the next segments ahead, and basically some tips and tricks. I mean, some insights that are just worth zillions of dollars. I mean, honestly, like the stuff I've learned from mistakes and everything. And I really can help you. Like, if you want, you shouldn't need my coaching or consulting, even though that's offered at, rapidregeneration.com. I am laying it out for you step by step in these segments. So definitely stick with me in the next few segments ahead. I really want to help you, and I know you can do it. And so just keep it going. Please contact me if there's anything I can do to help you. rapidregeneration.com, and I'll see you on the next segment. Bye for now.
For more information, please follow at Rapid Regeneration or visit rapidregeneration.com.